Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths in the field of consciousness. Their passion is to support your evolutionary growth and change. Join them as they talk about our individual and collective evolutions, explore what living consciously with energetic awareness means in our daily lives. Access with them a state of grace. There is no time, no space. Feel the warmth and acceptance and opening into infinite possibilities. Combining a broad collection of modalities and personal experiences, they share with humility and humor their appreciation for the body, mind, spirit connections that we call life. Now, here is Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-host, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett, is coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. It's a lovely day here. I hope it's a lovely day wherever you are.
And we have a great show for you today. Actually, today, Janet and I are going to be talking about a couple of different things that listeners have written in about. One is our friend Angie is offering a topic on letting go, which is really great for right now. And then also Patrice is talking about, asking us to talk about the voice as a vital music of life.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And we're also going to let everyone know about how our intention with this show, since this is our 6th week in, is about that when you hear our intro and you take that first breath, it all begins. And this dropping into heart space is something that you and I are holding before we even engage our listeners, and that they are developing the awareness in however they're noticing that that is real, and that there's a relaxation, there's a releasing and enjoyment that's happening. And we have tended to take that place after our first commercial break. But today we're going to shake it up, and we're going to get there in the first place with awareness and then just explore these topics.
Sounds great. Yeah, so invite you all to have your own experience of what this feels like to you when we do this. And just as Janet said, we're going to try something different today. We're going to actually go into heart space now and carry it on through the entire show. So do you want to take us into heart space?
Okay, everybody. So just notice what you notice. Take a breath. Trust whatever shows up. And put whatever you think is going on in your life up there. There you go. And that everything is fine, and the part of you that's having to pay attention to the kids or be in the office cubicle is just fat and sassy, doing all that work. And this part of you is just like, oh, good, I get my massage. All right. So just drop from your awareness of being in your head and thinking into your elevator. Push the button for heart floor. Ding and ding again. Open those doors. Notice that antechamber, that emotional terrain, and how it's different today than the last time where you were here. And the things that you want to pay attention to or attract your mind, or those things that you're like, oh, I'll deal with that later, or, oh, I didn't know that was there. Isn't that interesting? And just let this be a user-friendly place. Let your emotions be your friends. Let them tell you about how you feel about things. And let them be your truth. But knowing they're only for a moment, right? That they are a way to navigate being human here. And go into the next room. And there you are, into the core, the all. And just notice the immenseness here. There is no limit here, the infinity that's here. And that we are all there also. And just breathe. There we go. There we go, everybody. Doesn't that feel nice? And so no matter what you're doing, there's this part of you that is holding this space to be real. Right, Joan?
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Yep. And this is what we want you to have in your hour with us, is that no matter what the subject is, there is that part of you that's here. It's nourishing. It's healthy. It's releasing all those things that are keeping you a little busy. And when you come back out of this space, it will continue whether your level of awareness is still holding there or not. So what are we going to talk about today, Joan?
Well, as I mentioned, now how do you pronounce your friend
Patricia. Patricia. Yeah, she's in New York City. She's dealing with some health issues. So we wish her well. And she was mentioning how vital it was to hear a voice, right? And in the connection. And I thought she brought a good point up about in this state, you can hear a lot of things. You can feel what you hear here.
Right, because she's used to receiving your newsletters, and
Right.
so she's used to reading your wisdom, but it's an entirely different sensory experience to be listening to the same ideas and information, on the air. So she was, so that sparked her question on the voice is a vital music of life, how the information comes across differently when it is spoken. It's everything is vibration, but sound is a different vibration. And so, people right now are having a multisensory experience of this show. They, they may be, watching, what's on the website. They might be doing something else, but they're hearing what we're talking about, but they're also feeling the energy state that you sent us into. So just a little reminder for folks, what are you noticing right now? I get a sensation. It's almost like purring, is the feeling. It is a relaxation, like a cat purring. And I'm not a cat person, but there it is.
But you can appreciate the purr. Yeah, and I think we're educating all of us and reminding all of us, even those of us who do this, look to do this all the time, that our sensory experience is evolving all the time also. So maybe what you're noticing different from this week might be different from what you noticed last week. And in being in the field of the heart, like we're holding space for, you're having your experience of it, we're having our experience of it, but we have this wonderful entanglement that comes up into play. And in that, you can trade skill sets. And we do this all the time, we notice, don't we, Joan? When we get more of us, a couple of us together, we start seeing the way the other person sees, or we hear the way the other thing. Our sensories are jumping on each other, joining in, and in that flow. And it's always so delightful. So it's important to be able to go, oh, that's different. Oh, all right. I didn't notice that before. Yay. That's where you're going.
Well, the other thing, I tell this to my clients when I'm doing an energy session with them, is that, whatever they're experiencing right now has a ripple effect out into the week with them. And so to notice what's unfolding. And I will notice that for myself is, I might be at the grocery store and I will get a little bit of that feeling. I get a little bit of that kind of sensation. So notice as you're listening to this, what it feels like internally, and then notice for yourself as your week goes on if this same sensation shows up at other times, because that means that you are accessing this state independently of us taking you into it. So you actually can have this experience for yourself, and with practice, actually this is spontaneous I'm talking about, but also with practice is that you can take yourself into this state.
Well, I think that engages the rules that I talk about often. And is your world and your reality set up that you can experience something in a moment and it continues? Because this is all state-based information, which is what consciousness is about. And so we have this moment together, we've set this up, and we're allowing for it to continue on long after we have gone. Right? And that's in our setup, is that this keeps building, this keeps playing out. And so people don't have to go, oh, I got to remember what that is. Okay, what was that? Blah, 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 blah. And no, you already engaged it. It's already there. You just have to bring your awareness back to it. It's already playing out in you. And that part of you is going, yeah, here I am. And what is it? What would you like? And that was one thing that came up last week that we wound up talking about, is how to be in this state, why to be in this state when stuff happens, and how being in this state when those stuff and things happen, it was much different to navigate through than going, oh my God, I got to think my way out of this. I got to feel my way out. No, no, no. That wasn't the experience at all. It was like, oh, all right, that's interesting. Let me go on. Now I know the value of being here. So don't set it up that you can only be in this state with us right now. You are in this state always. And just see how you play with it.
This reminds me, I've been teaching energy work since like 1981. And so, but my experience, so this is different, folks. If you're used to being grounded and centered, if you're used to playing with being in the present moment, we may use the words about being present, but this, to me, this is a much bigger experience than just being grounded and centered and being in the present moment.
Right.
I actually had this conversation with my intern this morning about using the word consciousness and, whether that was jargon or not. And because this is what we're actually talking about, is we're talking about, being in this heart space, but being in this state, but we're in this state of consciousness. And so consciousness is so much more encompassing than just being in a space of being aware. Okay, so there's my old energy work I described to people as like Newtonian physics, with the law of gravity and all that, Newtonian physics, and this is quantum physics, and so this is taking it from just the realm of awareness to consciousness, and. Right. Don't try to figure it out, folks. Just let that sink in, and just let yourself get a feeling sensation of what that's like. Even if you're not a feeling person, let's say, "Oh, I'm visual." Okay, well, just get yourself a visual impression, but give yourself the impression of how this is different.
Well, and I think back to what Patricia was saying. She's an artist, actually, sculptress. And for her to hear something, she can really allow her senses to go off, right? She can really ride, and she's very aware of the flows of energies, which a lot of us are. And we track differently. And so you find yourself on the flow of the voice and the sound and the language, which incorporates so much verbiage that holds for polarity, the totality. We have all these words that, like heart, for instance, it means many different things and it encompasses a great deal. So when we verbally speak something, there's a communication that's happening and that we can't always really track, but connection is happening and firing. And then when you go to a place of where it's just music, where there are no words, it's just sounds. And we are so expressive as individuals, as humans, and being able to translate, feel, understand, resonate with what is being moving us, because in the stillness and absolute quiet of sacredness, there's sound. There's just a sound that's resonating on different levels.
Yes.
And I think we hear in many different ways, just as we see in many different ways. And it's just about experience and bringing your awareness to all these multifaceted ways.
Speaking of experience. Speaking of experience and speaking of presence, so I want to invite people to be present right now, but I'm going to be talking about some future events. So just notice how when you're in consciousness, you can hold both awarenesses. If you go to my website, you can sign up to receive an audio course of mine called Manifesting Money and Miracles for free. This is a paid course that I had last year, but you can, and this will encompass a lot of these energy techniques that I talk about in the show. And you can also register for a free webinar that I have coming up just next week. It's next Tuesday on the 28th at 12 noon Pacific on reinventing yourself, which is pretty key for this time too. We're October is the month of eclipses, and we're going through these incredible transformations. So notice right now, if you're in the space of consciousness, you get this sense of immensity that's not necessarily changing. So, I'll be talking about what is changing when you can reinvent yourself. So,
good stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful trip to the Northeast and met lots of wonderful people. It was a beautiful place, and I want to thank everyone that I met along the way. And we'll look forward to doing it another time. So, it's just nice. This is just such a nice space, isn't it, Joan? I mean, I think everyone can feel that. Doesn't matter what's going on. It's so when we come back, we're going to talk about Angie's subject about letting go and all that's got so much information about, doesn't it?
Yes. And there was something else I wanted to say about that. Well, just to invite people to think about things you'd like us to talk about here, and we'll mention them. We'll incorporate them in the show. And we'll also mention your name on the show.
And I wanted to make sure that people knew that they had a $25 discount on their first session with me for this month of October, certainly, if they subscribe and get my weekly blog information. So that's at www.janetandbeyond.com.
We would like to remind you that you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We are stopping for a commercial break right now, but we are holding the space of being in the state of grace during the commercial break, and we'll be talking much more about these things after the commercial.
The Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com.
Tune in to the Voice America Variety channel on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. Voice America Variety broadcasts a diverse array of topics, reaching a global community. Our experts come from all walks of life, and the topics they discuss are everything from current events, arts and entertainment, leadership, parenting, relationships, self-improvement, career advice, and a variety of other topics. Check us out today. You're sure to find something of interest. Voice America Variety. Talk on today's hot topics.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our wall. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
Invite meaning and inspiration to your life. This is the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we have been talking about being in a state of grace and consciousness, and the voice is a vital music of life. And now we're going to also talk about letting go. It's a topic that Janet's friend Angie suggested.
Well, and I think, what can you say about letting go? Okay. Sometimes that seems like an easy thing to do, and sometimes it doesn't. I think what's important to remember that letting go is often about holding on. And it's really not about letting go. It's about holding on. and that there's so many different ways that we work with this. And everyone says it's important to let go. Well, why am I holding on? And that's where the awareness needs to be. And there are lots of different ways to explore. In consciousness, we kind of tend to go, well, what are you noticing? What is it when I say that, when you hear that, when you feel that? The idea of letting go. You can feel the constriction, didn't you, Joan? When I said letting go, everybody just kind of like, grip. Yeah. And so if I use the word, well, what are you holding on to? Okay, that invites it to open up more. So often it's the language. And if you're in reaction in one way, check and see the other way. What do you notice?
Well, this whole topic of letting go is a really rich one. Also, for this whole month of October, we're tomorrow is the next eclipse. We've had one eclipse already on the 8th, which was a full moon, a solar eclipse of the full moon, which was an abrupt shutting the door for many people on things. So, people were forced to let go of things in circumstances in their life. And then tomorrow is a new moon eclipse, which is an opening of doors. So there's a whole aspect of this where, you have to let go to step through the portal to the next experience. Mm-hmm. In order to have something new, you've got to release something old. In order to bring more things into your life, it's sort of, you have to create a vacuum for it. And also we're in the middle of Mercury retrograde, which, messes up with communication, travel plans, electronics. So this has not been a good month for making solid and firm plans. This has been a month where you really need to be flexible and go with the flow, because the plans are going to change anyway.
Got it. I think, about heart, for me, giving and receiving is where this is kind of showing up here. For me, hands are a reflection of heart always. And when you, as an embryo, those hands develop out of your chest and then your arms and shoulders show up. So hands are always an expression of heart. And the first thing that an embryo does that they've tracked is it holds itself. And which is really interesting to me. So here we have this connection of heart and expression, and giving and receiving are about different names for the direction of flow. So energy is always flowing, and when you're giving, you're receiving, and when you're receiving, you're giving. And so then we can introduce letting go. And we are so, I think, hold that's about something you're holding on to. So that involves the hands. I don't see a lot of people going around holding it through their feet. So there's the energies tied up in your hands. And some people have been holding on for so long, they don't know it. And they've been holding on by everything in them, is so oriented. So when you say let go, you can feel that reverse perception is like, oh, contraction. So it's very interesting to me. So holding on is really what that is. And you're developing your awareness and how to play with those dynamics.
And something else that occurred to me is on an energetic level, nothing's ever lost. Mm-mm. So sometimes we're holding on to something like a memory or whatever because we don't want to lose that memory, or we're holding on to somebody who has passed because we don't want to lose that connection with that person. But that person isn't gone. That person is on that person still. Right. Yeah, they're beyond the veil. But if you're holding on. If you're trying to hold on to them energetically, you're keeping yourself. You're keeping yourself in a state of grief where you can't actually connect to where they are now.
Right.
So my experience with people who've died is that it's actually an opportunity to have a whole new relationship with them on the non-physical. So and with someone that you've loved, it's actually an opportunity for you to have that experience of loving them in a way that wasn't possible when they were sitting across from you in physical body with personality stuff and storylines and stuff. This gives you a chance to actually have an awareness of them and a relationship with them in a greater consciousness.
I talked with a neighbor yesterday. She was married 60 years and her husband died unexpectedly. And it's a year later. And, her holding the place that's she's 82. So her whole life was wrapped around this man, and he was very dynamic. And so his presence is really known. And she has family and children, and they want to keep her in her house that they built together 60 years ago. But she's and her, because I don't want to butt or those are bad. Those are choices that'll get you into trouble, language-wise. The reality is that she was used to having someone there all the time. They were best friends, and she misses him, and that's real. And you can she's still in that state that he's not there. And I said, he's with you in another way now, right? And she goes, oh yeah, I talk to him every night. She stands in the hallway with the photographs, and she talks to him every night. And he was always such a strong protective energy, and he's still there with her, and she holds that awareness where she wouldn't maybe feel comfortable sharing that with everybody, but she did with me. And that was very precious to me because she knew I would value that, and that I wouldn't say, oh, you must be nuts. Oh, you need a pill or something. And we were just grooving on how great that was. And also at the same time aware that he's not there to physically be next to. And yes, you do mourn those things, right? Yeah.
Well, my mother-in-law, so when I met my husband, his father had just died the year before. And they had been married as long as your neighbor. So his father was 94 when he passed, and his mother was in her 80s. And so this was at least a full year later. One thing I noticed as a psychic is that we would, every time we went out to lunch or whatever, there'd be the three of us. So there'd always be like a fourth chair at lunch. And I would be aware of it filled with his presence, However, one thing she said after a year or so is that when she woke up in the morning, he was always there. Like he was always lying in bed beside her. And so a psychologist would go, oh, well, that's just, a sense memory or whatever. It's like, no, he was still physically, energetically present for her.
Right.
And I've also told a good friend of mine years ago who is also widowed that she isn't crazy to talk to him, because the thing I have found when I do readings for people about their deceased loved ones is that the one thing they feel is that nobody talks to them anymore. Everyone's acting as if they're gone, and it's like they're still there. So they love to be communicated with, and it is learning in talking to them. You're learning a whole new way of connecting with them because they're on the other side. But I tell people it's as effortless. Well, it's easier to talk to them. They're just harder to hear. So it's like a bad cell phone connection. But they can hear you.
Totally. What I'm taken with is noticing that in letting go and holding on, we went to death. And I think that's interesting because I think what is also is we're talking about loss and letting go, how it's organizing itself around that idea that letting go, you're losing something. And we would offer, no, you're gaining something. And that you're just making something different available to happen now. Because in holding on, there's loss of something new. You're staying with the old, and you're in your regret, you're in your emotion, you're in your mourning of it. And we know those classic stages of death and letting go and all that's involved in that. And it's really looking at that in a different context. I have a client today who was talking about her dog is 11, and that's old for that dog, and she was just in a whole lot of pain about it, though it's like, all right, she took on his suffering. She didn't want to let go of him, and she didn't want him to hurt, so she took the suffering on. And she was realizing that that really necessarily wasn't helpful for her to feel because she couldn't be present with him. So there was a sense of letting go and holding on in the dynamics that were engaged there that we really want to explore and understand. Okay, and maybe be different with our experience.
That's funny that you mentioned pets because that is something just in the last few days I've noticed a couple of different pets of mine that have passed showing up, and I haven't, although I have been somewhat aware of my different pets that have passed. This was really distinct. I also feel like there is something going on because people have been mentioning about their past loved ones. And usually when it's the holidays, there's a feeling of the veil being thinner. So usually during the holidays, you'll notice you'll feel sentimental or whatever, but it's really the veils are thinner at that time. So it is easier to connect with people. But I have especially, of course, this is actually a holiday period for people, for Muslim people and Jewish people. They've got some significant holidays in September. And so maybe that's the reason why I've noticed a distinct thinning of the veils, so to speak, for dead people. But I've noticed these two different dogs I had showing up. Either like dogs walking by that look just like them or other references to dogs that are similar to them. So that's a kind of, so to let people know this topic of that nothing is ever lost is that, even your pets are still energetically around. And another thing about nothing being ever lost, years ago when I was a clairvoyant student, we learned how to deprogram people, and it's like people would have sometimes a hard time letting go of that information because they didn't want to, they didn't want to lose part of their memory or whatever, and you would store it in the back of their aura. So that's sort of the old Newtonian physics, working with auras and running energy and that kind of space is like okay, but what I see now where that upgraded information is that it's all stored in the cloud.
Right.
In old days, you'd say, it's in the, in the old days they'd say, it's in the Akashic records. Well, it's actually everything is within consciousness. So you don't need to store it in your hard drive. If you hold on to energy too long, it can manifest physically, which is when you're creating tumors or fun things like that. You're holding. You find this yourself. You're holding it within that physical space, but you don't need to do that. It's you release it into the cloud, and you're still accessing it as consciousness. But it's not disrupting your physical operating system.
Well, we're just really seeing a realignment and a new conversations about how we have oriented ourselves and how we have used science to set up things. And science is only the act of observing something repeatedly, and depending upon the agenda behind the observation, does it validate or not validate a position being held. And we're dealing with biases all the time. And what is it about just being free? We're so in these cultures anyway, it's about the things you have, and you get attachment, and we empower objects and we give them meaning, and they hold meaning, and they represent how hard we've worked, or the level of success, or what we haven't gained. And so this letting go, this holding on, gets sticky in places. And if we just look at it from an energetic perspective, it's like, at what level are you holding on? Are you holding on physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, psychic, or spiritually? Are you letting go physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, psychic, spiritually? Are both those pathways open and closing? Are you giving? Are you receiving? They're the same thing. It's just the direction of the energy. And so you start to feel this infinity symbol. Can't you feel that? That flow that's, oh, okay, information comes in, information goes out, the boat shows up, the boat left, mom's here, mom's not here. I mean, and we don't mean to be callous or frivolous in any of this. It's always with respect and being neutral, though, to what comes and what goes in our lives. And as we live longer, things are going to show up differently for different times, period times, I think.
So we're holding space here. And speaking of space, there's also time. So we want to invite you to hold this heart space as we go to another commercial break. But stay tuned because we have a lot more to cover as we play in heart space. And we'll be right back.
Be visionary. This is the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com.
Want to know what's going on behind the scenes with your favorite Voice America Talk Radio Network host? How about what's new with our network? Make sure you check out the iRadio blog, a look at what's hot at Voice America and beyond. Visit www.iradioblog.com today. Get the inside scoop on every channel on our network, including breaking news, featured guests, blog posts from our hosts, and much more. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter for even more inside action. Visit iradioblog.com today and stay connected.
Now you can take your favorite Voice America radio program with you anywhere. Sign up for our mobile app if you have an iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry. The Voice America Interactive Radio Player, powered by Aircast, gives you the freedom to listen to any of our programs, anywhere, live and on demand. No registration is required. Listen to your favorite Voice America hosts and discover new ones. Download the Voice America mobile app for iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry, powered by Aircast. Visit the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
Have you had a chance to check out Voice America's online magazine and blog, Press Pass? If you love our hosts and shows, check out articles that give an even deeper perspective. Plus topics about health and fitness, movie reviews, philosophy, business tips and tactics, spirituality, positive thought, current events, and even more about your favorite host. It's just a click away at vapresspass.com. That's vapresspass.com. VA Press Pass by Voice America. All access, all the time.
The 7th Wave Channel on the Voice America Network.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I am Joan Newcomb, and I'm here with Janet Barrett, and we are leading edge creators in the field of consciousness. And right now we have been holding heart awareness.
Feels good, doesn't it? Now, you know what I am noticing, Joan? I've got a little around my stomach. So stomachs are good for emotions and gut feelings and all that kind of stuff. So maybe people are tapping in on a level there. So let's just check in and see. Or it could be lunch, I suppose. But no, I don't really think so. I think it's everybody out there. So what do we notice about letting go, holding on? Oh, okay. So what if we notice how we're holding on emotionally and what we're holding on to? And what if it was okay to just notice it? There we go. Okay. There's a lot of tiredness in that. Is that what you feel? That kind of feels tired to me. I think people are tired. They're different. Yeah.
I'm not noticing tiredness. I notice for myself that I have two levels of things that I dance with, and one is being in this space, this heart space with you, but the other thing, honestly, and this is me from having done years of radio, but I have a family of origin thing about being conscious about time. So I mean, I can be anal. Can I say that word on the air? But I can get very rigid about time.
And I can be anal expressive. So there you go.
Right. Oh, I love you, Toot.
Go for it. Now you have our interest.
Just
okay.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Tell
me more.
So that is the thing I notice. I notice for myself is I like to use things within the container of time, but I know underneath that some of the anxiety from that is more family of origin things that have nothing to do with what's going on within the time or space now. It's like the world is not going to come to an end if it happens 30 seconds later or not. I mean, well, actually, I used to live on
a finger on the bomb. I guess it does, right? But
right. Well, I used to live on an island, and so if you missed the ferry, you were kind of, and you're trying to catch an airplane, you were kind of messed up there.
Yeah, right.
But in terms of, it's like, no, we're not spies, and we're not going to get shot at or whatever if we're a little bit late to the game on this thing. Because actually, that is the other thing, is that within, how years ago it's like commercials used to take so many minutes, and now they're doing things. They're 30-second commercials. They're 15-second commercials. They're 10-second commercials at the beginning of the YouTube thing that you're looking at, and it is amazing how slow a second takes now.
Yeah. And how does that fit in with letting go or holding on? That time dances a bit? How's
because
that tied to your gut?
Well, actually, that reminds me of a technique that I made up that I teach people, and it has to do with purple silly putty because I just happen to have some sparkly purple silly putty that I would use in my classes with people. But to imagine, you can play with this silly putty and you can stretch it, or you can contract it, and so. I've used this when I'm stuck in a traffic jam, or I've used this where I want to, where I want to actually experience more of something. So you can actually use this image to play with being in the time space that you're in. You can make something go more quickly. If you're a student out there and you're bored with class, you can just try contracting that silly putty, and next thing you know, the class has gone past very quickly. Or if you want to really enjoy the book that you're reading, or the novel that you're watching, or your time with friends, you can make this experience go longer. So,
what I'm noticing, Joan?
Yes.
I think I'm tracking their bowels are starting to work. when you realize,
be careful of suggesting things. We're going to lose everybody for the last few minutes here because they've all gone to the loo.
Yeah, we're going to hold it, everybody, for a certain length of time, and then we can release.
Hold it in.
But there is that when you start to acknowledge the things that you're holding on to, and you go, "Oh, I don't need to do that." But our emotions affect our physical template so much. Yeah. Everything affects our physical template. So it's not just emotions. There's a lot of practices that are all about emotions affecting our physical template. How we think. So what do you need to let go of mentally? I think what's happening is we opened that avenue up for people to just start releasing stuff. And they're finding how it's, we're tracking how that feels, which is great. And just, what if you could let go? I mean, I think that rigidness that you were talking about, holding on, time, what are the mechanisms that we hold on with? So, oh gosh, go there, everybody. Just go there. Just let that awareness, let you have your awareness of how you relate to this information. There are no rights, there are no wrongs, but it's real. And just notice the people around you from this place, the mind's eye that's a little softer, that inner eye. Just notice the people around you. How uptight are they? Who needs to let go? Yeah, you just, in your family, think of your family members. Who's holding on? Who's a quiver? They are so in such a state of anxiety or panic that they can't let go. So what we're going to do here is I just want everybody to make a fist. Everybody make a fist. You got a hand there. And just notice what it feels like. Is it easy? Is it tight? What is it? And what if you could just allow it to loosen? And what would that be like? And just see if that kind of just brings more awareness to it. And does it release? Or is it kind of stuck? And so what are you holding on to? If this is a wonderful symbol of what's the dynamics in your life, because that's what your body represents, just notice. So what if things could soften? What if in you there's something softened? Here we go.
I have to share the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it has to do with letting go.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two sons, and there was at a certain age, they didn't want to hug their mom anymore. So the only chance, or they didn't want to be hugged by me anymore. They were just, they were getting into middle school and they were tough guys. Mm-hmm. So the only chance that I got to do that was when I was waking them up in the morning. And, I would be able to give them a little hug and a kiss as they were waking up. And the thing is they were in this wonderful soft space as they were waking up, and they would start farting. So as they farted, it is as they were farting, I'd say, "I love you too, I love you too." And so then it became kind of a running joke that my kids would ignore me, but anytime they farted, I'd say, "I love you too." So I carried this over with my new husband of 8 years, and so that's a running joke in our house is that if I fart, I go, "I'm just so full of love."
So obviously something released, right?
That's
the beautiful story of release.
Right.
So that's the other part of letting go and holding on is the sense of release, which is what we were holding onto here.
I'm so glad you brought that back to topic, but yes.
Yeah. So the sense of release, and what is it? And everybody notice your hand now. It's kind of open. Mine certainly is. And it's like, so there's that sense of pressure, tensing, like the string in the bow before you shoot it, how you pull the tension of the string, and the tighter it is, the farther that arrow will go when you release. So just notice that. So this is all stages of motion. And how sometimes the more pressure you have on that, I gotta let go, I gotta let go, I gotta let go, I don't want to let go, I don't want to let go. And then, oh, you do. And it's just this blissfulness that comes over you, which I can see the potty training going on in the room. So it is that state, right? And it's just in the release. So there is something of value in holding on. There is something in the value of making its distinction about letting go. And all that might be encompassing in that. And so it's time to bring ourselves back to our awareness. Come back into the emotional antechamber and notice if that looks different. And go back into the elevator and push the button up. And close the doors. And rise up. And let the floor ping open. And it might not be about going to mind. What if you got off at the throat floor? What would that be like? So just go off wherever you want. There are no rights and wrongs. This is your experience. You own it. You direct your movie. And just notice as you come back that, whoa, that part of you that was hanging with us is having a lot more fun now than it was before. And let's see how this shows up over the course of today. Drink lots of water. and allow yourself to keep building your awareness of where you're holding on, can't let go, want to let go, don't want to hold on, release, tug of war, all of it, and just enjoy life. We're introducing that the body is user-friendly, your experiences are user-friendly, consciousness is evolving always, and how to play.
Speaking of playing, one thing I wanted to let folks know is we're trying something new, which is that we are having an after the show conversation. We're having so much fun within this segment that we're carrying on the conversation afterwards, and you can listen to that by going to my website joan-newcomb.com and clicking on the radio show page, and there'll be an additional link, and we're going to continue exploring this topic for another 30 minutes or so. So you can listen to this whole segment, and then if you want to get even more about this topic, you can go to the next segment by going to my website.
That's feeling pretty nice.
Yeah, and I wanted to also let folks know that there's so many ways that you can connect with us. There's so many ways that you can join us. We're on Facebook, so you can go to Facebook and look up Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and we are also on Twitter at Joan and Janet. I bet you can also find us on Conscious with Joan and Janet. You can find us on Google Plus as well. And we're on Tumblr. You'll have to search a bit for us on Tumblr as well. So we are just expanding. So these are ways you can connect with us and
let us know how they're doing. Right? Yeah.
Right. But also send us your ideas, because this might open your mind to musing about some things. And if you want a deeper experience of it, send it in, and we will explore this into whole new universes.
And there's so much out there, isn't there? There are so many ways to engage the world from a user-friendly place when it doesn't feel user-friendly. And being in this heart space, from this place, and you have to make choices, and you have the stuff hits the fan, and the world seems to be collapsing, this is a much better state to be engaging those things. And we want to offer that to you. And all you have to do is just shift in that moment of awareness and go, oh, okay, the part that was there, oh, right, there it is. If I was there, what would I do about this incoming information? And we want you to easily understand that this is accessible at any time, and that it is an active state of awareness that you're holding that you don't have to be aware of. And we love the way the language plays with all of this. You are aware to the degree that you are aware when you need to be aware. There is no judgment in this. So be kind to yourself, be compassionate with yourself. If you have to forgive yourself and you're into that routine, fine, do it. And be sure and join us, because this feels good, Joan. This feels very, very good.
And there's a couple of other ways to join us here. You can go to my website and join me at my webinar that is coming up. That's next Tuesday at the 28th, I think it is. And it's at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's on reinventing yourself. And you can also, for free, get my Manifesting Money and Miracles. And you've got a special for connecting with you, too, don't you, Janet?
Right. If anyone just would like to enjoy a weekly blog connection and all the different kinds of things that are going on in that world, that is in process, and I'm really looking forward to it. You can subscribe. I'll give you offer you a $25 discount for your next session. And we look forward to meeting you on more personal levels than we already are.
So you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett.
And we'd like to thank you all for helping to co-create the show by tuning in. So no matter where you're listening, live or in the future, your energies are actually co-creating the show right here to us today. So we invite you to tune in next Wednesday for another great show at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. Universal Time.
Have a nice week, everyone.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Thanks so much for helping to co-create the show. No matter whether you're tuning in live or listening on demand, you energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next Wednesday for another great show at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and 10 p.m. UTC on the Voice America 7th Wave Channel.